Good day. Today, I'm making 2 videos again. So, I'm going to be doing this one a little different. Now that the NFL's team's unofficial depth charts are coming out, we're going to start going off of those. So the 49ers will be the first team we're doing that with, not ESPN's. I need to sneeze, I'll be back. Getting into the offense, because that's where we always start. Brock Purdy. He's their quarterback. Now, obviously, Brock Purdy is a serviceable QB. And I want to say this about Brock Purdy. I do think for the longest time I called him system QB, and I still 100% believe he's a system QB. But this offseason at camp without Kyle Shanahan, he's actually looked pretty serviceable on his own. Whereas Mac Jones, their second string, who last year a lot of people were like, hey, Mac Jones is playing better than Purdy, looked absolutely horrible without Shanahan. So that is something worth note. Now, Brock Purdy is a guy with pretty great experience, only being his 5th year. He has 1 Super Bowl appearance. He's been to the playoffs 3 out of 4 years. Really, my big concern about him is, can he stay healthy? This is a guy who's been dealing with 2 pretty major injuries. Think back to last year, I believe he missed 8 games with turf toe. And then, obviously, against the Eagles in the championship round, Hassan Reddick literally broke his arm. So, I mean, as long as he can stay healthy, I think you have serviceable QB play. And even if Mac Jones has to step in, it's definitely not the worst pick in the world as long as the play calling is good. Now, switching over to the wide receiver room. There are 3 starting wide receivers are listed as, again, this is the unofficial depth chart, which we don't normally use, but Mike Evans, Demarcus Robinson, and Deebo Samuel Sr. Now, I was kind of surprised that Christian Kirk has fallen to, believe this is the 4th wide receiver, which is wow. I mean, Christian Kirk looked pretty serviceable in some games last year. Obviously nothing great, but the other one I want to talk about that is also listed low is DeJon Stribling, their 2nd-round pick, which I will get to that later. I'm not a big fan of that pick. But looking at the starters right now, Demarcus Robinson, Deebo Samuel, and of course Mike Evans. Wow. Honestly, in my opinion, that's a very underwhelming receiving core. Now, looking at film, Deebo Samuel has kind of been used as a back more than a receiver, at least from the film I watched from camp. But I think that is something too worth note, and I honestly think that is good for him. Because you look back last year in Washington, gosh, on the field he was awful. He was one of the best after-yard catchers, but opposed to down the field, he was pretty okay, let's keep him short. Now, the thing with Mike Evans is I do think he's still a good wide receiver if he can stay healthy, and that's a huge if. This man has had injuries, I believe, in the last 8 years of his career, missing pretty significant time, and obviously last year I believe he only played in 4 games, which sadly ended his 1,000-yard streak. Now, yikes. You got 2 really old wide receivers as your 1 and 3, and then Demarcus Robinson as your 2. Now, Robinson, no offense to him, but he just really hasn't proven himself yet. He definitely can prove himself, especially in this offense that really needs someone to step up. But yeah, okay. I mean, definitely not the worst wide receiving core we've seen. It's not bad on paper. As long as everybody can stay healthy, maybe Deebo Samuel can turn back the clock even just a year before last year. It's not a bad receiving core. And then, of course, you got good depth, in my opinion, with Christian Kirk and DeJon Stribling. No one else. I guess Brandon Ayuk is technically there. Whew. So, yeah. And then looking at their tight ends. Right now, Jake Tongas is listed as the 1. And I'll say this about Tongas. He's definitely a serviceable 2. I'm sorry, 1. He's definitely a serviceable tight end. But he won't be the starter all year. Obviously, the second George Kittle gets back, he will be the 1. And that's what I want to talk about. George Kittle, for my money, is still a top 3 tight end in the league. I know he's fallen off a little bit the past few years, but he's older and he's been dealing with injuries, especially coming off a huge, I believe, ACL tear. Yikes. It might be Achilles, I'm not sure. That's a yikes. But I'll say this, he's still a great blocker. Looking at film from last year, I can't predict what he'll be like after the injury, but he's a great blocker, really good yak. He's still good in double coverage, triple coverage, all that types of coverage. Yeah, I mean, that's a guy you want on your team. And then Jake Tongas behind him, who's currently the starter, is a very serviceable 2 in terms of receiving. So, yeah. And then moving over to your running back, and I also want to talk about fullback, which I don't typically talk about. Your fullback is Christian McCaffrey. Now, I know Christian McCaffrey is currently dealing with tightness in his calves. I believe it's both of them. Now, this is the thing about bilateral Achilles tendonitis. I have Achilles tendonitis. It doesn't go away. Like, obviously, he got it 3 years ago now, and he's still suffering from it. Like, that's not good. Like, cover your ears, fantasy owners. But, yeah, that's not what you want from your star on the offense, obviously. Like, your main star. Obviously, this offense has a lot of stars, but he's their main star. And if he's not healthy, we've seen what that does to the team. Think back to 24, I'm sorry. 24, where he without him, the offense looked lost. But as long as he can stay healthy, he's obviously a very good receiving weapon. And he's not as good of a rusher as he once was. He is a little slow now, and his biggest run didn't come until the Bears, who we know their run defense was pretty bad last year. But yeah, that honestly pretty worries me for the season. But Kyle Juszczyk is the guy I want to talk about, who in reality is kind of their tight end too, and their running back too. Like, obviously they have Jordan James at the 2, who's good too. But Kyle Juszczyk, like, they use him as often as they can. I think in receiving game, in pass blocking, and running. He is a guy that is quite versatile. Sean Payton was here, he would say he's the joker of the team. And I think Kyle Juszczyk demanding a tight end contract's a little low, but like, he kind of does play like a tight end. That's how they use him. Now, I don't really talk about fullbacks, but Kyle Juszczyk's kind of valuable to them. Because, we'll get to it in a second, but the O-line wasn't great the past few years. But having an extra 6th guy to block for either CMC or Brock Purdy or even sometimes Mac Jones, that's always pretty helpful. So I'll give him that. Now I'll go into the O-line. I just hinted at a little bit. They're not the best pass or run blockers. And there's only really one name that's like, whoa, you got that guy, whoa. And that's obviously the ancient Trent Williams. He's been a good tackle my entire life. Yes, he slowed down a little bit last year, but he's old as heck. I mean, if you expect him to continue to play at this elite level, you're going to be disappointed. Obviously, he's still a very, very good tight end, but he's 38. He's 38 and obviously when you're 38, you're going to get injured. No way around it. But when he's on the field, he really does make this offense so much better, which you love to hear about a lineman. And as long as he can stay healthy, he's got Brock Purdy's blind side locked down. For my money, he's still a top 5 tackle, at least left tackle in the league. Now, the other guy I want to talk about is Dominic Pooney. And this must be a guy I just thought good off name value, but looking at his film, even the past 2 seasons, wow, he's really got to put it together. Like, Dominic Pooney is a young guard, I'll give him that. He's only 26, only going into his 3rd year. But I thought he was better. Maybe he's going into his 4th year, sorry. But I did think he was a little better than he was, and I think that was just name value. But he doesn't really look good on film, especially in pass blocking situations. Where sometimes, like, wow, that guy beat him way too easy. It didn't even look like he was trying. But everybody else, Colton McCrivitz, that's the right tackle if you don't know. He is definitely a serviceable tackle. He's definitely not a game-changing tackle. And then Robert Jones and Jake Brendel, again, they aren't game-changing players at center and left guard. I would argue they're average to maybe above average, or maybe sometimes even a little less than average. Like, looking at the film and talking to Niners fans, they don't like this guy. In film, it shows, like, okay, again, they're getting beat by guys that, like, really, you're getting beat by him? But, I don't know. I think if this offense can stay healthy, which through camp it doesn't look like it, as Christian McCaffrey, Mike Evans, and, well, all the other starters that were out here are hurt, actually. So, as Christian McCaffrey and Mike Evans, your 2 biggest weapons on the offense right now, because George Kittle is out, are already dealing with some injuries. Obviously, Mike Evans has extensive hamstring injuries. We got to monitor that. And, of course, Christian McCaffrey, his injury history, it's like huge paper. So, yeah, as long as they can monitor that and keep them healthy, they should be a good offense. And I think they should be better than last year's offense, too. Now we're going to get into defense. This defense. Oh, I'm not a big fan of it on paper. Looking at your lefty edge, you got Keon White. Now, this is a guy I don't know a ton about, I won't lie. But looking purely off stats, I don't like him. And I remember last year when Nick Bosa went down, I could name one starter on their D-line, and I can't even think of his name now because he's retired. But yeah, the D-line was a bunch of nobodies last year, but whatever. And then you look at your lefty tackle, Osa Odigizua. If he can, he has the potential to be a good D tackle, and I don't like the trade for him. I think who they traded was much better in terms of positional value. Osa Odigizua is he's down here when he should be up here, and he has the potential to be up here, honestly, a little above average, because he's shown that through film, and he's definitely a frustrating player. But it's coming out of college, going into the draft, that's a good pick right there. Good job, Dallas. Now Dallas is trading him for, I don't like it. I'm not a big fan of it, but it's definitely, in my opinion, not the worst. Now, your right D tackle is Alfred Collins. Now, again, I don't know a ton about him, but last year, I don't believe he played a lot, but when he did play again, pretty uninspiring football. Wow, that just made me look fat. Pretty uninspiring football, if you ask me. But I think the D-line really does make up for it, because as long as those guys get a little bit of pressure, Nick Bosa will do the rest, which is their right defensive end, and as long as he can stay healthy, which he's also had a pretty extensive injury history the past few seasons, but as long as he can stay, yeah, see, my hair's drying right now, not so flat, but, I mean, as long as he can stay healthy, he should be getting enough pressures to make up for the rest of the D-line, and also getting enough sacks, as long as he can stay healthy and he looks good coming off the injury. Now, looking at your Sam, I don't believe they play their Sam a lot. You have Luke Guilford? I'm sorry, let me check his name. Guilford. Sorry. Now, this guy who is an unk, but I'm not a big fan of him. Again, watching him, I couldn't find much highlights on him, but again, well, film, I should say. I look at lowlights too, but, again, some pretty uninspiring football. But I'll say this. They're Mike and Will. I'm kind of flying through this because the defense is kind of a bunch of meh with some great mixed in. Fred Warner, if he can come back healthy, bravo. And I love what they do next in with the Will, bringing in Dre Greenlaw. When we saw Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw on the same field together, they were really good in 2023. Up until Dre Greenlaw in the Super Bowl tore his ACL or Achilles, I cannot remember. They were honestly a really good linebacker duo. Yeah, we're not cutting that. We're doing this in one take. Oh, that landed right on my foot. Stay up. My camera's not used to being over here. Oh, that hurt. Okay, well, whatever. But yeah, when they're on the field together, they're really good duo, honestly. And I'm really excited to see them. Now, who I really want to talk about is Demore Lenore. I don't know how to say his name. I'm sorry. Now, this is a guy who honestly kind of surprised me. Because, I mean, at right cornerback, I feel like he's not really talked about a lot, you know? But looking at the film, he kind of impressed me last year for his age. And obviously the Niners defense kind of blew last year. Robert Saleh really held them together. But honestly, he had a few highlight plays. I think he's good around the ball, but overall not a great corner. Then of course you look at Renardo Green. Now Renardo Green is a young player, but I'll say this about him. Again, he has some pretty dang good plays. Now, again, he hasn't played a ton, and he's kind of let up a lot in coverage in terms of yardage, but he's definitely not a bad corner, definitely not the worst. And I believe this is his third year. And coming from pretty stacked corner class, I like him, honestly. But then looking at your nickelback, Upton Stout. Now, I could tell you a lot about Upton Stout, but watching film on him, again, I believe this is his third year. Holy shnikes, this guy is so butt. That guy's boo-tea. I do not like watching him. I actually kind of would rather put bleach in my eyes. And it's not even typically that he's a horrible player. He's boring, he's uninspiring, and he's not good. You cannot be all of those three things. And he only has a starting job because Jack Jones hasn't taken it from him yet. That's the only reason he still has the job. You're like, Jack Jones, for the Jack Jones. Yeah, Jack Jones, I'd argue, is better than him at nickel. Now looking at your free safeties, Malik Mufasa, as long as he can stay healthy, he will be good. But I disagree with letting Talanoa Hufanga walk. I know Talanoa Hufanga can't really catch picks, but still, I think he's better than Malik Mufasa. I do like the gamble, and of course they need cap space. But as long as he can stay healthy, he's definitely not bad. He's definitely not one of the worst safeties in the league, and I'm not as worried about him as the rest of his back side of the defense. I'm honestly more worried about Jair Brown, who's like you're not good on film. Stat-wise, you're not good. Okay, you're decent stat-wise. I just look. But on film, he's not very good. And that's what I've kind of noticed about a lot of these players, is that a lot of them, he doesn't have the name value, but a lot of them have the name value, but they don't really play good. Now, I also want to talk about one more position, than kicker. I'm like, you never talk about kickers except in the Rams. It feels like Eddie Pinheiro is kind of their guy now, and they really did struggle with kicking with Jake Moody as their kicker for a few years. So it is heartwarming to see them finally get a kicker so they can win in close games. But yeah, so that's the whole roster breakdown. Overall, definitely not the worst roster we've seen, but definitely not the best either. I don't know. I'm not a big fan, but I'm also not. I think they have a good enough roster to win games. All right, now we're going to go into free agency per usual. Alrighty, we're back. Now, looking at their major additions, we're going to start with Michael Evans. Michael Evans, who's wearing 5, which I really dislike. I don't think he looks good in 5. Maybe I'm just so used to seeing him wearing 13 and playing 13. But of course, Michael Evans, he was their big free agent signing. This is a good free agent signing for them. They don't really have wide receivers. They lost Juwan Jennings, which in my opinion, huge loss. I love Juwan Jennings. Best wide receiver ever. But still, he's good if he's healthy, and that's arguably the best weapon Brock Purdy has had since 23 Ayuk. We're not going to talk about 24 Ayuk or Ayuk now, but... And also, I already talked about it. You bring in Oso Digizua, and in terms of trade, bringing him in for a third-rounder pick is not bad, but... Like, again, I said he should be playing at this level, and he's down here. But he's shown the talent to maybe be up here, but he's down here. Now, Christian Kirk, you bring it from wide receiver depth. Honestly, I could see him getting cut. Like, watching the Niners practice and everything, he is so, like, he plays, I've been throwing that word out a lot, this term out a lot, but he just plays uninspired football. And you see that on the practice field. This is never what you want to see during practice of all things. If you're playing uninspired during practice, where you're literally just playing with your teammates, what are you going to look like on game day? And again, in Houston, he had a few good games, but outside of a few good games, like I said, non-existent. And I could see him honestly getting cut. He's only on a 1-year deal. Now, of course, Nate Hobbs comes in. They need corners, obviously. Their secondary was awful last year, and name value as well. Their corners are... But yeah, I mean... And of course, they bring back Drake Greenlaw. I mean, again, you need linebacker help. I like it. But yeah, other than that, of course, which I don't know how I feel about. I am not looking at the contract and the details of it, but re-signing Trent Williams, I believe he did ask for a contract bump, but a 2-year extension for a guy who's 38, if he plays till age 40, great, good for him, but that would be shocking if he played till 40. But overall, honestly, this is a pretty good free agency class for the money they had to work with and the positions they needed, which weren't particularly strong in free agency outside of wide receiver. Overall, I think I'd give this a B minus, and I'm feeling good at B plus. Definitely not the worst free agency we've seen, but not the best either. Now we're gonna go into the draft. I know I keep switching up on you guys. You guys don't know what to expect. How much I hate this draft. I don't care what anybody tells me. I had Niners fans telling me this is the developmental draft. Blah, 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 blah. It's cope. I hate this. I hate this entire effing draft. You guys got 8 picks in this draft. Oh my god, this one made me mad. You trade out of a Denzel Boston, the Casey Concepcion. Hell, an Omar Cooper Jr. maybe you could have traded up for. I don't know if he went after them. I know the Jets got him, but you trade back to the second round, which is no problem with that. But you take just Draymond, I don't know how to say his name. Draymond Stribling. Oh my God! 33rd overall? What the F are you doing? That is a shit pick. That is like, I can't think of his name. Jalen Polk, maybe? The Patriots took him in the second round of 24 over flipping Lad McConkey. What the flip is this? This is awful. This is disgusting. And it's nothing against Stribling, but it is actually. He was not a top 33 flipping player. Okay, in college, he's a 50-50 ball wide receiver. I don't care! What happened to the last team? Drafted 33rd overall. Drafted a 50-50 college ball wide receiver to be their one. Obviously, he's not the one, but he's developmental one. What happened to him? It was Keon flippin' Coleman with the Bills. And again, you draft a guy at a position he's not supposed to be at. This will never be a wide receiver one with how he looks right now. I'm glad coming out of the draft they're not making him the wide receiver one, because if they would, they'd be dumb. But he looks bad in camp, too. I hate this pick. This is you know what? Developmental-wise, it's decent. I'll give him that, but I hate it. Now, Mellow Height in the 3rd round, oh my God, I hate this, too. Oh my God, they did trade out of Omar Cooper Jr. for him. Holy shit, I just looked at that. Oh my God. And Romello Height, oh my God. I flip it. I don't like this one either. There's something against Romello Height. I don't have him at player 70, which is where they took him. I think he was a lot lower than that, honestly. But I'll say this. He's kind of developmental, sitting behind Fred Warner, and obviously I would want to sit behind Fred Warner in terms... Sorry, I meant Nick Bosa. I mean, in terms of football, nothing else. Don't gotta talk about his off-the-field antics right now. But yeah, I guess that is pretty developmental, but you're in a win-now mode. And in my opinion, the Niners window's closed now. After the 24 season, that horrific season, and then 24 season, yeah, they made playoffs and they won a playoff team, but they weren't a good playoff team, if you know what I mean. If you look at the film, they weren't good. The Philadelphia game, realistically, they should have beat the Eagles by at least 20, 25 points. But they didn't. And I think that window is really closed for them now. Their team is old. They don't really have these great star players anymore because they had to get rid of them because of their contracts were so big, and obviously retirements and trades and all this. But I guess this is a guy that can help develop. Same with Grayson Halton, which is another guy that you can help develop, I guess, on the D-line. But I don't really like either of those picks. I think they were both a little bit of reaches. Halton was picked 107, and I'm sorry, I'm talking about... And Height was picked 70. I'm not a big fan of either of those. And of course, this one really makes me mad. Kaelon Black, wide receiver out of Indiana, 3rd round, 90 overall. I won't pull up the depth chart again. Where does he fit in this backfield? Where? Christian McCaffrey, Jordan James are your 1 and 2 guys. There's no reason for anybody else to be over them. Taking him in the 3rd round, unless Kyle Shanahan was like smashing on the table, hey, we gotta get this flipping guy. No! That's a waste of a pick. Again, you think you're in a Super Bowl. You think you're in a Super Bowl window. It's obvious. You made playoffs last year. You beat the reigning champs. You go out and make a splash signing Mike Evans, who's old. He's not going to be there in a few years. So you obviously think you're in your Super Bowl window. You think it's been from here to here. That's how long you think your Super Bowl window's been. No! Cut the shit. This is bad. That's a waste of a pick when you're trying to contend for a Super Bowl, and it makes me angry. Now looking at it, Carter Willis is a good O-line pick, in my opinion, for pick 127. Is it a little bit of an overdraft? Yes, but he won't play. He has guys to sit behind him. He really does, which is good. Now the rest of the guys are kind of just, all right, depth picks, all 5th rounders. I'm talking about my guy, Enrique Cruz Jr., Syracuse guy, respect. But again, he probably won't play. He's an lineman. Same with Jaden Douglas, who's a linebacker out of Louisiana. And of course, I'm not going to say his name, but the cornerback they drafted, 139th overall. Again, that one's kind of a reach, but it's for depth. And he's a little developmental, but I don't see him really playing at all. But overall, I hate this effing draft. You are a team that thinks you're win now. So what do? You don't draft a single, not one win now player. I get trading back in a draft, but if you're going to trade back for Stribling, and again, no offense to Stribling, to be your future wide receiver one, that's stupid. When Omar Cooper Jr. is right here just Make the pick. Don't trade it to the Jets. Who took him? Why? Why if you're just going to draft Stribling? I hate it. I hate it. I think if you're a team that wants to contend, you need to make contention moves. And they did that in free agency, honestly. They were like... And then when it got time to the draft, they were like, oh, we're out of grenades. Water balloon. I hate it. I hate the Niners in general. This makes me hate them more. This shit, poo-cocky draft class. We'll get back to the coaching. So, the coaches. Obviously, your head coach. You got one of the best regular season head coaches in the league. God, Shanahan, who should maybe get off his phone while he's driving. Hey, Kyle, we know you're rich, so you won't have any penalty, but come on, man, that's really effed up. You almost ruined a young girl's life, by the way, almost, because she got blamed for it, if you don't know. But football, just focusing on football. I want to defend him because he's a good coach, but he's so not clutch, especially in the postseason. I think back to the Super Bowl in 2019, and of course, I cannot think of it, in 2023, so 2019 and 23, you had those games won. Obviously, Jimmy Garoppolo kind of lost them the game the first time, but Brock Purdy was playing his booty cheeks off in the Super Bowl. Maybe, I don't know, it's just coaching malfunction. But looking at your offensive coordinator, Clay Kubiak, I'm shooting for the sky for him. Now Clay Kubiak, sorry, not Clint. Clay Kubiak, his brother's obviously a proven offensive coordinator. I think Clay could be the next Kubiak to make a name for himself in the league. Honestly, I know. It's kind of a hot take, maybe, I don't know. But I think he could be. But maybe not with this offense, unless he can really elevate this offense. And then Raheem Morris, our defensive coordinator. Now, I know Raheem Morris got a lot of hate for his time with Atlanta. Very much deserved. 100,010% deserved. But as a defensive coordinator, he's a good defensive coordinator. And I don't want people to overlook that. Oh, shit. I just saw something that really scares me. Now, he's a good defensive mind. Last year, if you don't know, the Falcons actually had the second most sacks in the league, which is very, very good. But I just looked at this, and it makes me worried for the defense. Matt Eberflus. Just to put it in perspective, he was the Bears head coach. Caleb Williams, rookie year in 24, and he was the... Sorry. For my money, bottom two defense, in my opinion, the worst defense in the league, unless you want to count the Jets because they had no turnovers last year. The Cowboys defensive coordinator. How does this man keep getting jobs? Now, yeah, he's just an assistant defensive coordinator. He's also the assistant head coach. I'm sorry, Niners fans. I hope by no means, obviously, I never would wish this on any coach, but I hope Raheem Morris and Kyle Shanahan stay as healthy as they can be, except maybe Kyle Shanahan because he's a shitty person, but not death. I'm sorry, I really hope he never has to call a single play if you drop a single screen. I'm so sorry. We're looking at their schedule, and the Niners going into their 80th season in the National Football League. They were not spared a schedule. Week 1. Oh, it's going to be a shit game for them. LA Rams. And now in Australia, which I believe is their Melbourne game. Knowing the 49ers injury history, I don't like that being their first game. I don't like them going overseas at all, actually. And of course, I believe the Rams will be the best team in football. They do get a little bit of a break, though, with the 2 should be easy wins, especially since they're at home. Dolphin? Cardinals. They should be 2 easy wins, especially since you're at home. Yeah, your schedule definitely heats up from there. 3 pretty big ones, in my opinion. You ready? Bang, Broncos. Bang, Seahawks. The Commanders. Bang, Falcons. You're probably like, bang, Falcons. We'll get to them in a later video. Yeah, but I think it's possible win 2 of those games. I don't really see them beating either the Broncos or Seahawks, especially since it's at the Seahawks. Coming out of your bye, you get a little bit of a break. Bang, Raiders. Bang, Cowboys. Cowboys could be good this year. Maybe a sneaky team. Boom, Minnesota. And that could be a boom, Minnesota, depending on how Kyler Murray plays, because I love their defense. I love their defense. And then, bang, Seahawks. Bang, Giants. Bang, Rams. Bang, Chargers. Bang, Chiefs. Bang, Eagles. Cardinals. Overall, definitely not the worst schedule. I mean, they are a third-place team, so in terms of third-place team, that sucks ass. But again, you got to remember, they're in arguably the best division in football with two teams that made it to the NFC championship. So, I mean, who knows? So, I'll give you the recognition in half a second. Give me 1 second. Seem crazy what I'm about to say. I think they have a floor, realistically, of 8-9 and a ceiling of 10-7. Again, like, looking at this purely depth chart-wise and schedule-wise, I'll tell you right now, I honestly think they go 8-9. So that puts them at third in the division. I know that might be a little bit of a hot take. I'm not super high on them, especially their roster-wise, especially defensively. And so, I have them going 8-9. But let me know your predictions in the comments. I do want to talk about. I talked to some Niners fans. I've ran into two types of Niners fans. I talked to 6 in total. Literally 50-50. 3 were like, yeah, this is going to be a good year for us. We are a shitty division, obviously. Very hard division. But it's going to be a good year for us. And the other 3 were like, yeah, we don't really look good this year coming out of training camp. Well, the injuries already. We don't look good. They think they're going to be middle of the pack. So they got 2 different types of Niners fans I've talked to. And I'm on the side of the, hey, maybe this will kind of be a regression year from last year. Honestly, I think last year was kind of a miracle year that they went 12-5. 1, an easy schedule. 2, I mean, they didn't. Honestly, that's kind of it. Easy schedule. They did suffer from injuries last year, and great for Kyle Shanahan, coaching-wise, to be able to make his team, kind of push his team to playoffs on his own with all those injuries. But yeah, so as of right now, they are ranked I lied. As of right now, I have them ranked as the 10th best team in the league, going 8-9. Now, maybe I'm wrong on this. This is kind of my biggest gamble so far, in my opinion, that I've taken. But, yeah, I mean, I think 8-9 is kind of fair. This is a hard schedule. This is a really hard division. I could see them dropping 4 division games. And honestly, if you were the third best team in the division last year, and this is the schedule you get, you're kind of in for a doozy year. And it sucks. But we'll have to see. I mean, much love to them and good luck. But I hope I'm proven wrong. I'll say that. Now, spread some love, everybody. Love you all.